Welcome back to the Bulkhead. My name is Kale.
I'm Brooke.
And today we're going to be talking about table image and picking your spots. Something that I think doesn't get talked about enough in Commander is how slow the format is. Because there's 4 players and everyone's sort of looking at everyone else, there's a lot less early aggression. There's a lot of diffused sort of attention between all the different players.
The checks and balances.
Exactly. If I attack Brett, Mr. Etch Champion over here might attack me.
Yep.
And get value from that attack, especially if I only have one creature. So in the early games of EDH, developing in a specific way can be to your advantage. The person that slaps down a Soul Ring on turn 1,
so that's it. So
taps it for a Signet, is now the archenemy at the table for a little while.
And which is better, being the archenemy and having that huge mana advantage early on, or just waiting even one? I'd say you wait one turn from slapping down that Soul Ring. You're still going to be very far ahead, but I also will say the perception of you is going to be a little less harsh than it would be as a turn 1.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe.
That's definitely like something that's interesting to experiment with based upon the contents of your starting hand and what your deck is as well. Most of the time, you're going to want to slap down the Soul Ring on 1 and hope it works out. But if you don't have much to follow it up, or if you're light on lands and you don't know if you're going to be able to do a lot more in the following turns, there is potential to slow your roll a little bit and wait till other people have started to establish and you're seen as sort of, the lame duck.
Like, what if you slap down a Soul Ring and then only use 2 mana on your second turn? Would that really help your game out at all? I would say
yes.
Absolutely not. Not only are you the archenemy, you also didn't use the super powerful play you did on turn 1. Like,
exactly.
It's the worst case scenario.
Yes. Your public perception sticks with you as you play through certain turns.
First impressions.
Exactly. Right? First impressions, very important in a game. All of this sort of goes out the door for CEDH. Everyone's a threat. Everyone's trying to destroy everybody right away. But most games of EDH, which I think casual is the primary version of EDH, 5 to 8 power level, something in there. This is how you're going to want to modulate your play style to get the most value out of those less than great hands, or in circumstances where you're light on lands, something like that, and you're going to come slower out of the gate.
Yep.
And following this, the idea of picking your spots as you go towards the mid game, very important. Building your decks with the idea that you're going to need to set up an engine, cultivate it a little bit, and then choose the spot that you want to either interrupt somebody's big play or make your move.
I'd say we feature a couple decks like that, Garth and Brea being the ones that come
Absolutely.
up.
Yeah.
Especially Garth, go check out the video. But if you haven't seen it, it's a deck that's centered around tapping and untapping effects. Mm-hmm. And so having all your creatures up, being able to activate their abilities at instant speed at any time is just such a huge advantage that if you would have to do it on your turn.
Absolutely. Some of that is sort of common sense, but the idea of rushing too quickly into trying to get a stranglehold on the game is a little bit alien to the 60 card constructed formats, Modern, Legacy, etc., because it is you versus your opponent. And if you grab a stranglehold on the game, you're likely to end it before they can recover. Multiplayer formats, that's just not as true.
Oh, no, because then they're going to team up against you if you're too far ahead.
Exactly.
And I hope they would team up against you, because why would they? 3 other people want to see you run away with the game. They're going to do everything in their power to bring the board back at parity.
Exactly. And it's hard to beat 3 players at once.
It is.
Obviously.
Unless you're playing Brave.
In which case, you are the archenemy from the start. Go check out that deck list, deck tech in the description below if you want to take a peek at how you can win those games when you are the archenemy. So a really interesting couple cards in EDH that highlight this idea are Vidalcan Orrery, Alchemist Refuge, allowing your spells to be cast at instant speed. Both of those cards probably not relevant in any other formats at all.
Absolutely not.
Very bad.
Especially Orrery. Maybe Refuge because it's a land you'd like.
But it's
they're both bad. Yeah,
they're both very bad. So
both bad.
It points to the idea that there is some intangible added value gained from recognizing the speed and the tempo and the shifts in attention, perception, and political standing that happen in EDH, which frankly is part of the reason why this format is so good. When I joined into EDH initially, it felt like, 7 mana cards this way and that, and just haymakers back and forth. But there's a lot more nuance to, one, building a good deck, and two, playing a game that is well paced for what your deck does. This is why I like deck builders like Josh Lee Kwai are such fans of having your options open, sort of like maintaining the ability to pop in at any moment.
The champion of Vidalcan or...
Yes, exactly. And a really great deck builder wins a lot of the game nights games.
Or is always perceived as a big threat.
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly. And that perception comes from that feeling of he's always got something, which is not just a deck building choice, it's also a gameplay choice. You're drawing cards at opportune moments, you're leaving mana open when you can, you're not poking people when you can see that they're a bear, and you're making deals with people when you can. So we really love cards like Tenuous Truce.
Yeah, see, isn't that exactly goes along what you said, not poking people when you don't have to? Because then you have someone who doesn't want to poke you either.
Exactly.
Which he just builds on that and, just can snowball with card advantage, life, or not life gain, but you're not losing life from that person.
Exactly.
And you're almost teamed up against the other half of the table.
Exactly. It's a great way to gain value over time. It's obviously a self-contained card advantage engine. You just draw an extra card every turn, but it also adds all of those additional features of the pseudo life gain, the protection from the other player, and maybe you get to call in a favor later. Cards like that are secretly very powerful in EDH, and that's not necessarily the beginning perception that you would have going into the game. The first step, it feels like, as a deck builder, as an EDH player, is I'm going to build this deck that's synergistic, that's powerful, it's going to draw cards, and has ramp. The next step is, what am I going to do in terms of interacting with my opponents, both on a card for card level and on a mental, political level.
Yeah.
It's like,
how can I progress further in this game without pissing off all my opponents?
Exactly.
Or specific ones.
Exactly.
Because you're really trying to go through until the very end without really making an enemy out of anyone. When there's a player that just wants to see the ruin of you, it's going to be really hard to win that game.
Absolutely. Particularly if you wrath away someone's whole board, they're going to be out for you the rest of that game. So you better be ready to come back from that situation and push through to the victory. A lot of this has to do with, we made a video about playing less wraths in your EDH deck. Lower amounts of wraths mean that you can be a little bit more surgical with how you're engaging with the board, how you're engaging with your opponents, rather than this person over here has a big bomb that I need to deal with, but I have to blow up 2 other things on 2 other players' boards that they don't want to be taken away.
Yep.
And so I'm not gaining as much from that. So there's a lot of interesting sort of like space to explore in there as a deck builder that's not present in a lot of other formats.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the special parts about EDH, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very cool.
If you have any thoughts about picking your spots or cards that you feel like allow you to play in this political space, we'd love to know in the comments below. If you have any decks that take advantage of that,
or your best political moves that you've made on your friends, would love to hear that too.
Yeah. Tell us how you stabbed somebody in the back at the last minute to come from behind and win. We would love to hear about it.
Exactly.
But as always, thanks again for joining us on the Bulkhead. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again next time.
Till next time.